It never begins with betrayal. It begins with silence. With a woman sitting across the table from the man she once couldn't stop talking to, now realizing there's nothing left to say. The love that once filled every corner of her heart slowly starts to dissolve, not because she stopped loving, but because she stopped feeling loved. It's in the way her laughter fades, in the way she hides behind short replies and forced smiles, in the way she stops expecting him to notice that something inside her is breaking. Most people think cheating starts with physical attraction, but the truth is, it begins in the spaces where emotions go unheard. A woman doesn't cheat for adventure. She cheats because her soul is starving. She cheats because somewhere along the way, she lost the emotional intimacy that made her feel alive. It's when the hugs turn routine, the conversations become transactional, and the warmth of being wanted turns cold. She remembers the early days, how his words used to wrap around her like comfort, how his presence used to calm her storms. But now, it feels like she's talking to a stranger who still lives in the same house. And so, her heart begins to wander before her body ever does. There's a certain kind of loneliness that comes from being unseen by the one you love. It's heavier than being alone because it carries the weight of memories, promises, and expectations that never came true. When that loneliness deepens, she starts looking elsewhere for the connection she once thought was eternal. It might be a coworker who listens, a friend who remembers small things, or someone online who says the right words at the right time. It's rarely about desire. It's about being understood. It's about finding someone who sees her pain, someone who hears what her partner stopped listening to. And in that emotional connection, she starts to rediscover pieces of herself she thought were gone. The truth is, women rarely cheat out of impulse. They cheat out of emotional exhaustion. They reach a point where they've given everything: patience, understanding, forgiveness, and received silence in return. She may have begged for effort, fought for attention, tried to reignite what was fading, but when her words fall into empty air, she eventually gives up. Not because she stopped caring, but because caring alone wasn't enough to keep the relationship alive. So when someone new comes along and offers her the warmth she's been missing, she doesn't see it as cheating at first. She sees it as breathing again. What people fail to see is that emotional neglect is a slow poison. It kills affection quietly. It's not loud or dramatic, it's invisible. It happens in missed calls, in cold replies, in dismissive tones, in the lack of, "I miss you." Over time, she stops waiting for affection. She stops asking for love. And when another voice tells her she's beautiful, that she's special, that she matters, it feels like sunlight after years of shade. She knows it's dangerous, but her heart convinces her it's what she needs to feel human again. And yet, deep down there's guilt. Because no woman truly wants to be the one who cheats. Most of them wish they could fix what's broken instead. But when love turns silent, when connection turns into routine, and when her emotions are left unheard, she begins to believe that silence is her answer. Not because she's cruel, but because she's tired of being invisible. That's how emotional emptiness becomes a doorway to betrayal. Not out of pleasure, but out of pain. And that's where it all begins. The moment a woman stops feeling seen by the man who once made her feel like the only one in the world. It doesn't happen overnight. The drift between two people who once shared everything begins quietly, almost invisibly. It starts with shorter conversations, longer silences, and moments that used to mean something, now passing without emotion. She starts to feel the distance before she can explain it. The laughter that once filled the room is replaced by polite words and predictable exchanges. They still live together, still share a bed, still play the part. But the connection that once made them inseparable has turned into something fragile, something uncertain. And that's where confusion begins. At first, she blames herself. Maybe she's overthinking. Maybe it's just a phase. Maybe love isn't supposed to feel electric all the time. But deep down, she knows something's changed. He's there, but not really there. His eyes are on her, but they don't see her the same way anymore. He's become comfortable, and in his comfort, he's forgotten that love needs feeding. So she stays quiet, convincing herself that things will go back to how they were. Yet the silence grows, and with it her loneliness. When she starts to drift, it's not because she's chasing excitement. It's because she's trying to remember what connection feels like. She starts noticing small things outside the relationship. How someone listens when she speaks. How someone laughs at her stories. How someone remembers the tiny details her partner used to notice. Those moments awaken something inside her. Something she's been suppressing for a long time. The desire to be seen. It's not about lust. It's about recognition. It's about finding emotional clarity in a place where everything has become dull. You see, cheating doesn't always begin with a kiss. It begins with a conversation, a message, a smile that lasts a little longer than it should. It begins when she feels more emotionally connected to someone outside her relationship than the person she's in it with. And that's the most dangerous kind of cheating, the emotional kind. Because once her mind starts opening up to someone else, her heart soon follows. The person who listens starts to sound like home, while the person at home starts to feel like a stranger. She never planned it. No woman ever does. But emotional drift is like gravity. It pulls you where you feel understood. And understanding, once lost, is hard to find again. The irony is that most men don't even notice it happening. They think everything's fine, because there's no fighting, no shouting, no obvious signs of trouble. But silence is deceptive. Silence hides distance. And by the time they realize she's already gone emotionally, it's too late to bring her back. What's tragic is that the drift often starts out of love. She stays quiet to avoid hurting him. She hides her needs because she doesn't want to sound needy. She suppresses her disappointment to protect his pride. But each time she silences herself, she builds a wall between them. And that wall becomes the gap where someone else eventually fits in. Not because she wanted it, but because she needed to feel something again. The emotional drift from connection to confusion is one of the most painful journeys a woman can experience. It's the slow death of affection, replaced by uncertainty and longing. She still loves him, but she's unsure if he still loves her. She still stays, but she feels like she's fading. And when another person comes along and gives her that missing spark, the kind of attention that reminds her she still matters, it's like rediscovering oxygen after suffocating for years. She knows it's dangerous, but she tells herself it's harmless. Just a friend, just someone to talk to. But deep inside, she already knows. It's the beginning of something that will change everything. And that's how it happens. Not with betrayal in mind, but with confusion in the heart. It begins quietly, almost invisibly. Two people who once shared everything start to lose touch. Not physically, but emotionally. The words that used to flow effortlessly now come out strained, calculated, or not at all. The spark that once made their connection electric starts flickering, and though both can feel it, neither knows how to bring it back. She notices it first. The way his eyes no longer light up when she speaks. The way he scrolls through his phone instead of listening. The way, "I love you," has become more of a routine than a reflection of feeling. And while on the surface everything seems fine, something deep inside her starts to drift away. That drift doesn't start with anger. It starts with silence. The silence between two people who used to talk about everything. Dreams, fears, memories. Now filled with small talk and distant smiles. It's a slow emotional fading, a quiet suffocation, where she feels unseen in the same place she once felt most alive. She starts to miss the version of herself she used to be when she was loved deeply. The woman who laughed freely, who felt wanted, who believed she was someone's priority. Now, she feels like an option. At first, she tells herself it's just a phase. Every relationship goes through dull moments, right? She tries to reignite things. To dress up, to initiate conversations, to plan small surprises. But the energy she puts in isn't returned. And slowly, she stops trying, because nothing feels worse than giving your heart to someone who no longer seems to notice. The confusion grows quietly. She loves him, but she feels alone. She wants to stay, but she's slowly slipping away emotionally. Then, somewhere in the midst of that confusion, someone else starts to notice what he doesn't. Maybe it's someone at work who actually listens when she speaks. Maybe it's an old friend who checks in to see how she's doing. Maybe it's just someone who pays attention. It's small things at first. A compliment, a question, a smile that feels genuine. And for the first time in a long time, she feels seen. Not because she's seeking it, but because she's starving for it. That attention doesn't feel like cheating at first. It feels like relief. The emotional drift deepens when she starts comparing. She compares how he used to make her laugh to how this new person makes her feel at ease. She compares how empty her nights feel at home to how alive she feels during those little moments of connection elsewhere. It's not that she's fallen out of love. It's that she's forgotten what love is supposed to feel like. And now, in those small exchanges, she feels something real again. Something that reminds her she's still capable of being desired, still capable of being understood. That's the danger of emotional neglect. It creates space for someone else to fill the emptiness. What she once only shared with her partner. Her stories, her vulnerabilities, her dreams. She now begins to share with someone new. And once she opens that door, even a little, it becomes harder to close. The confusion grows stronger. Not because she doesn't know what's right, but because what's wrong starts to feel comforting. She's not planning to leave. She's not planning to cheat. But she's already drifting away emotionally, one conversation at a time, one silent evening at a time. And by the time he notices, she's already too far gone. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she stopped feeling loved by him. And that's how most affairs truly begin. Not in the body, but in the heart. There's something powerful about feeling wanted. It's not vanity, it's validation. Every woman, no matter how strong or independent she appears, wants to feel that she matters to someone. Not just in words, but in attention, in effort, in the way she's looked at, spoken to, and cared for. When that validation disappears, when the person she loves stops noticing her, stops appreciating her, stops making her feel like she's enough, something inside her begins to ache. That ache doesn't scream, it whispers. It whispers things like, maybe I'm not beautiful anymore. Or, maybe he doesn't love me the same way. And slowly, her confidence starts to depend on whether or not someone reminds her that she still matters. Validation isn't just about compliments. It's about being seen. It's about feeling like someone is still paying attention. In the beginning of a relationship, she was his world. Every message, every touch, every word felt intentional. But as time passed, that intensity faded. The compliments stopped coming, the affection turned into habit. And the spark that once made her glow started to dim. She doesn't want to admit it, but she misses the way he used to look at her, like she was the only woman in the room. Now she feels invisible, like she's become part of the background of his life, instead of the center of it. And then one day, someone else notices. It might be a stranger who says something kind, or someone familiar who looks at her with the same spark she hasn't seen in years. A simple, "You look beautiful today," hits differently when she hasn't heard it in so long. It feels like warmth returning to a part of her heart that had gone cold. She's not seeking attention, but she's human. She's been starving for it, without even realizing how hungry she's become. That's the moment where the lines start to blur. Because that validation feels like a drug. It awakens her, lifts her, gives her something she didn't even know she was missing. She tells herself it's harmless, that it's just nice to be noticed. But deep down, it's already begun to fill the void her relationship left behind. Every compliment becomes a reminder that she's still desirable, still alive, still capable of turning heads and stirring hearts. And once that feeling takes root, it becomes addictive. Because for the first time in a long time, she feels seen again, not as a partner, not as a wife, not as someone's responsibility, but as a woman. The danger lies in how easily validation becomes justification. When she no longer feels appreciated at home, she starts to crave attention elsewhere. Not out of malice, but out of emotional survival. The moments she spends talking to someone who makes her laugh again, who remembers small details, who listens without judgment, start to feel like oxygen. She starts to feel drawn to that energy, that admiration, that effort. And what started as innocent appreciation slowly begins to grow into emotional dependence. She may not even realize how deep she's fallen until she starts comparing how this new person makes her feel alive versus how her partner makes her feel forgotten. That's when loyalty starts to shake. Because loyalty isn't about staying with someone you love. It's about staying with someone who still makes you feel loved. For women, validation is more than praise. It's emotional proof of existence. It tells her she's worth noticing, that her beauty, her presence, her energy still has meaning. And when she stops receiving that from the man she chose, she begins to accept it from the one who offers it freely. Not because she's unfaithful by nature, but because she's human. And she just wants to feel wanted again. And that's how validation becomes temptation in disguise. There's a different kind of cheating that doesn't come from loneliness or neglect. It comes from pain. Some women don't cheat because they stopped loving. They cheat because they got tired of being hurt. They reach a point where they've cried enough, forgiven enough, believed enough lies, and finally something inside them snaps. What begins as heartbreak slowly transforms into something colder, sharper, a need to reclaim control. When a woman feels betrayed, disrespected, or replaced, a dangerous voice whispers inside her, "If he can do it and not care, why can't I?" And that's when revenge starts dressing itself as empowerment. For some, it's not about falling for someone new. It's about reminding themselves that they still can. It's about proving that they are still desirable, still powerful, still capable of doing what was once done to them. That small taste of control becomes intoxicating. Because when she was the one being lied to, she felt helpless. Now, when she lies, she feels untouchable. But deep down, it's not power she's after, it's balance. She wants to even the scale. To stop feeling like the victim in a story she didn't write. The truth is, emotional wounds can twist even the kindest hearts. When love turns into betrayal, something breaks that's not easy to fix. She starts to associate vulnerability with weakness. She tells herself that caring too much is what got her hurt. So she builds a wall, hardens her smile, and decides that if love is a game, she's going to play it better than anyone else. And in that moment, she confuses revenge with healing. She mistakes getting even for getting over. You can see it in her eyes. The woman who's been hurt before. There's a calmness in her voice that hides the storms she's survived. She's done begging for attention, done asking for effort. Now, she gives back the same energy she receives. If he pulls away, she pulls further. If he flirts with others, she makes sure someone flirts with her too. It's not love anymore, it's competition. And in that game, no one really wins. Because every time she cheats to hurt someone else, she's reopening her own wound, proving that the pain still controls her. The revenge mindset convinces her she's reclaiming her dignity. But what she's really doing is losing more of herself. She starts believing that cheating makes her equal, that it's justice. But justice doesn't come from becoming what you hate. It comes from walking away without needing to destroy what hurt you. Still, in her heart, that's not easy, because revenge feels satisfying in the moment. It gives her a rush of confidence, a false sense of peace. She might look in the mirror and think, "He can't break me anymore." But when the adrenaline fades, the guilt arrives, and she realizes that no amount of revenge can undo what's already broken. Some women don't want to cheat. They want to heal. But they confuse temporary power with genuine strength. They think moving on means replacing. That closure comes from payback. Yet what they truly need is peace, not another lie. They need understanding, not validation. They need to rebuild, not retaliate. Because revenge may make her feel strong for a moment, but forgiveness, real, quiet, personal forgiveness, is what sets her free. So when a woman cheats out of revenge, she's not proving she's over him. She's proving that he still has power over her heart. And that's the cruelest kind of control. When the one who hurt you still decides how you love. There's a moment when pain turns into defiance. When the quiet, heartbroken woman who once begged to be understood finally decides she doesn't care anymore. It's not that she stopped feeling, it's that she got tired of feeling too much. Somewhere along the way, she convinces herself that maybe freedom lies in doing whatever she wants, without explanation, without guilt, without restraint. And that's when the illusion begins. The illusion of empowerment. She tells herself she's reclaiming control, that she's breaking free from expectations, from disappointment, from heartbreak. But what she's really doing is running from the ache, from the emptiness, from herself. In a world that glorifies independence and self-gratification, it's easy to mistake rebellion for strength. Society tells her, do what makes you happy, even if what makes her happy is temporary. She starts surrounding herself with voices that encourage detachment, that tell her love is weakness and vulnerability is dangerous. She begins to wear her indifference like armor. She stops believing in connection and starts believing in control. But control can be a dangerous illusion. Because underneath that confident smile, beneath that attitude of, I don't care, there's still a woman who craves to be loved. Just safely, this time. Without the risk of being hurt again. When she cheats in this mindset, it's rarely about love or attraction. It's about power. It's about proving that she can have choices. That she's no longer the one waiting, the one crying, the one begging for someone's time. She becomes the one who decides. She feels powerful, because now she's the one withholding emotion, keeping secrets, playing the game that once broke her. And for a while, it feels liberating. The attention, the thrill, the ability to walk away first. It all feels like victory. But it's not real empowerment, it's emotional escape dressed as confidence. Because true strength isn't found in hurting others the way you were hurt. It's found in rising above what tried to destroy you. The illusion deepens when she starts believing that not needing anyone means she's healed. She convinces herself that attachment is a trap, that love is for the naïve. She surrounds herself with temporary distractions, moments that feel good but mean nothing. Each new connection feels like proof that she's untouchable. But every time it ends, she feels emptier than before. Because what she's chasing isn't passion. It's numbness. She doesn't want to feel, she just doesn't want to hurt anymore. And so she mistakes avoidance for peace. People around her may even admire her boldness. They might call her strong, independent, unstoppable. But if they could see her when the lights go out, when the laughter fades, they'd see the truth. She's not free, she's exhausted. She's tired of pretending that she doesn't care, tired of living behind the mask of empowerment that was built on pain. Every confident step she takes is shadowed by memories she's trying to erase. Because the illusion of control only lasts until the heart reminds her it's still broken. And deep inside, she knows that all the independence, all the I don't need anyone energy can't replace what she truly misses, the feeling of being genuinely loved. Not the kind of love that weakens you, but the kind that heals you. She'll realize, eventually, that cheating doesn't make her free. It makes her bound to the very pain she's trying to escape. And that's when it hits her. Real power isn't in walking away from love. It's in finding the strength to stay open to it again. When it's all over, when the thrill fades and the adrenaline quiets, what's left is never as glamorous as it seemed in the beginning. The truth about cheating is that it never ends cleanly. It leaves a mess inside the heart that no one else can see. The guilt arrives quietly, like a whisper in the middle of the night, reminding her of what she did, of who she hurt, and of how far she's drifted from the person she once was. It's not just about betraying someone else. It's about betraying her own values, her own reflection. She tries to convince herself it wasn't a big deal, that everyone makes mistakes, but that voice inside her doesn't let her rest. It keeps replaying the moments, the choices, the lies, and with each replay, the weight gets heavier. In the beginning, she thought it would fill the emptiness. She thought it would make her feel alive again. And for a short while, it did. The attention, the affection, the stolen moments, they made her heart race. But what she didn't realize was that every secret message and every hidden meeting was also planting seeds of self-doubt. The same excitement that once felt like freedom slowly turns into anxiety. She starts checking her phone, not with eagerness, but with fear. Every sound feels like exposure, every question feels like a trap. Living in secrecy becomes exhausting. Because the truth is, no heart can carry love and lies at the same time without breaking. She tells herself she had a reason, that she wasn't appreciated, that she was lonely, that she needed this to feel something again. But deep down, she knows those are only excuses. Excuses to protect her from facing the truth, that cheating didn't solve anything. The emptiness is still there, just deeper now, mixed with guilt and regret. She starts noticing the difference between attention and affection, between desire and devotion. What she found outside her relationship was temporary comfort, not lasting connection. And the realization stings. Because now she's lost the person she cheated on, and she's losing herself too. The aftermath of cheating isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just quiet disconnection. She goes about her days pretending everything is fine, but she feels it. The heaviness, the hollowness. She doesn't laugh the same way, doesn't sleep as easily. Every little thing reminds her of what she's risked, what she's broken, and what she can never undo. Even if no one finds out, she knows. And that knowing stays with her. It becomes a shadow that follows her everywhere, showing up in her reflection, in her silences, in her inability to look into the eyes of the one who still trusts her. Then comes the denial, the phase where she tries to justify, to rationalize, to convince herself that it wasn't really cheating, that maybe the relationship was already over in spirit. But denial is just another form of punishment. The truth always finds a way to surface. And when it does, it strips away every illusion she built to protect herself. She realizes that the affair didn't heal her wounds. It deepened them. The person she became in the process isn't someone she recognizes anymore. And somewhere between guilt and reflection, she understands the cost. Cheating never gives peace. It only postpones pain. It replaces one ache with another, one kind of emptiness with a deeper one. Because in the end, she might have won attention, validation, or a moment of control, but she lost something far more precious, her own peace of mind, and that's when she finally understands. No love born from deceit ever brings peace, only pieces.